Thank you for tuning in to The Deal with Danny Brown. I'm Danny Brown. If you haven't listened to us before, I appreciate you tuning in. We've had Jim Travers, Allison Palevsky, Joey Miller, Jay Lux, James Ferrier, NFL legend, and many other interesting guests. Today's guest is the legendary, infamous, and my buddy, Terry Heller. We're going to talk about NWA, coming up with Suge Knight and Dr. Dre and Easy, his uncle, Jerry Heller, who signed NWA, his transition into the real estate game and into the restaurant business, where he successfully developed a concept, Plan Check, which I love, unbelievable hamburgers, and the famous lettuce leather. All good. So please subscribe on iTunes or YouTube or wherever you listen. And thank you for tuning in.
I forget, how did we initially meet?
We met back in the music days, the Dave Jacobson
Through Dave,
hip-hop
initially?
days. I think so, yeah.
Were you working at Giant Records?
No, not officially. No,
Where
I worked.
were you
I was
unofficially
interning.
or officially working?
My music business days, I was an intern at Priority Records and Interscope Records in college, and then worked at Capitol Records, and then worked for George Hinojosa and Craig Aronson, who was
that
doing
Ice-T's guy?
Ice-T, and then he started signing a lot of other bands.
So then you grew the fuck up and became a real guy and got into real estate. That's smart.
Pretty much. Left the music business and got into real estate. But enough about me. We can get into me a little later. A lot of people don't know that, though. They only know me as the real estate guy.
That's what's good about this. See, people want to understand who you are.
Good.
They want to like sort of connect with you on a level other than the deal.
Got it. Well, you're right. So we'll tell them a little bit about my background. Yeah, I was at Interscope in college when The Chronic just came out. So that was like the whole Jimmy Iovine just becoming massive in that way. Dre walking around the office. So that was really fun. But let's go back to you grew up in LA, San Fernando Valley.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't even say where I grew up with San Fernando Valley. I mean, I grew up in Westlake Village.
Yeah.
Moved to LA at 18.
Yeah.
And was out here for about 10 years.
So where'd you go to high school?
Westlake.
Oh, you went to Westlake.
It's a little complicated. I lived in Westlake and I went to a school. I was recruited to play at a public school, to play water polo, which was not legal at the time, but I did it.
By the way, I didn't even know you played water polo.
I thought I was going to play water polo, or I could have played in college, but I got a job.
So you were serious.
I started playing and swimming at a very young age.
Now, and your parents are also real estate agents?
They were.
Growing up, they were?
They were growing up for most of my childhood, and then about 7 or 8. No, actually, when the market corrected, they were like, "We're done with this nonsense. I think you got to go that way for Instagram." No, sorry. I'm trying to get some video. For my stuff.
You got to hype yourself. It's Terry Heller. I mean, come
on. So they got out about 2009 and got into the pet treat distribution business, but I'm very close to my parents.
And growing up, though, then they were real estate agents.
Yes.
So they were doing open houses. They were
all that. Yes.
Vacations being moved and canceled. So you have a similar upbringing as my children. They were constantly canceling vacations and moving it around. And I'm not around Sundays and all that stuff. So that's how you were raised.
Yes.
So you live in a pretty normal life for a kid in Southern California, but then
I don't know how normal my life was.
Well, dysfunctionally normal.
I don't know if it was dysfunctional. I mean, I definitely think my trajectory and sort of I don't know too many people that were doing what I was doing at a young age. For example, I don't know any other kid that was listening to hip hop when I was listening to hip hop.
Yeah.
And that was just it was just a result of my uncle, Jerry, working with guys like, let's go back before Easy and Dre.
I want to get deep into that. Obviously your life changed. The whole family's trajectory changed in about 1987 when NWA dropped that record. But give us the history. Jerry Heller, your uncle, it's your dad's brother.
And my dad's brother.
He was a legend in the music business for anyone that's in the music business. But for those that aren't in the music business, kind of walk us through the Ruthless Records day leading up to it. Well,
I mean, look, my uncle was in my life from day one. I don't remember a day he wasn't in my life. He never had kids.
Got it.
He had some marriages, but, from a young age, we just bonded. There was no issue with my father. My uncle's 9 years older than my father. Right. My father had me about 22. So I think because my dad was very busy with work, my mom was busy with work, trying to make a living, my uncle being in the entertainment industry prior to all the NWA stuff kind of lent him, it lended him to have more time.
Yeah.
And we from an early age, he would watch me starting about 2 years old. In fact,
so he's really a father figure your entire life.
Yes, he was a father figure, a mentor.
No disrespect to your father. Obviously, you were very close with your father and your family, but he was also an additional, a major influence, parental figure.
He was a major influence.
And he didn't have any kids, so therefore his brother's kids became sort of
he was a major influence. I have amazing parents, and what was great about my father was he was never threatened by my relationship. He really supported it. So my uncle and I, we'd travel. The first time I left the country was with my uncle. We've gone all over together, and I was in and out of his marriages. I was in and out of his relationships, and definitely a guy that taught me a lot. Things to do in life and things not to do in life.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of lessons there. So walk us through his career, the big strokes before NWA and before you became a music executive and a music director, etc.
Okay. Well, I believe it or not, I'm not totally qualified to talk about his stuff before I was born, right?
Yeah.
But he was in the music business for many years. He grew up in Cleveland. My father and him grew up in Cleveland. He moved out here to go to SC. My father.
My dad was born in Cleveland and moved out here young though.
Yeah. So they came out here to my grandparents go to college. My father ended up going to Fairfax and Hamilton, and
that's funny.
That's where I actually met my mom. They've been together since 1966.
How old is your dad? Because my dad
69.
went to Hamilton. Oh, my dad's much older. My dad's in late 70s. My mom went to Fairfax. Dad went to Hamilton. It's just so funny.
That's
so
kind of
common.
par for course, right? If you're Jewish and you're in this area.
Yeah.
So they came out here. My uncle got in the music business. He was more on the agent side, booking agent. And worked with a lot of famous people that we've all know. But my sort of informative years, he got into hip hop. He had a real rough time with the marriage. He had a real rough time with the industry. Mm-hmm. And he got into hip hop. And he really believed in what was happening in the movement. Jerry, I always thought was the tastemaker and was the guy influencer that knew about trends. And
this is way ahead of hip hop being mainstream. This is underground. This is when it was only independent labels releasing albums, and this is early.
Yeah, he worked with groups like LA Dream Team.
Yep,
he discovered them.
LA Dream Team is in the house. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, that's a little embarrassing. Maybe you guys cut in right there with the actual real music. LA Dream Team, Dream Team, Egyptian Lover, Radio Joe Cooley, Everlasting Bass. If you know who that is.
And of course, I have all these records. I was DJing with Dave Jacobson in middle school at that time.
So every one of those
spinning
artists,
these records that no one knew what they were because we were the white Jewish kids listening to hip hop just like you were.
Before any of those artists were out, I could tell you stories about the first time I heard Everlasting Bass before anybody heard it. Yeah. I was in Laguna at a hotel, and Radio drove down and played us in his, I don't know what year this is. We'd have to look up it, mid 80s ish.
Yeah, it's got to be mid 80s.
And was playing Everlasting Bass. I just remember, I forget if that was like an 808 drum, but I remember playing that here, and I would love it.
For sure, it was an 808 drum. Well, that's all it was.
So he started with that. Then did World Class Wrecking Crew, which was Dre's first group.
Yep. So he was already in business with Dre. Didn't realize that.
Yes. And, look at, I don't want to get too much into Straight Outta Compton. I think it was a powerful movie. It was an amazing movie. Very inaccurate movie.
I'm sure.
Not a great portrayal. I think it really showed that Jerry championed the movement. Yeah. But certainly in the end, it just wasn't, Paul Giamatti, wonderful actor. If you ever met Jerry, he was far from a nebbishy little guy that wore goofy belt buckles. Jerry was one of a kind.
You mean everything in movies isn't true?
Well, if you're going to do some kind of, I don't know what you call that, like a biopic. I don't know what you call that.
That was a biopic.
I would think you would try to kind of nail everybody, but they didn't nail him. He was much more of a suave, powerful, walked in a room and people just look at him. They thought he was a celebrity.
Yeah.
They didn't know who he was, but he had this white hair. He had white hair as long as I can remember.
That's funny.
He had white hair since he was in his 20s. Very tall, 6'3".
Yeah, so he was a ugly guy.
What's that?
Studly guy, not a nerd. He certainly wasn't a nerd like the movie.
And he wore those Porsche glasses before anybody else, and he always wore the Porsche glasses. And he just had this look and this aura and this energy. And look, I mean, there's a lot of stuff about him that was amazing. There's a lot of stuff about him that was not amazing. You know, definitely battled with partying a little too much.
Yeah. Not a surprise with music industry.
Yeah,
and what
but
was
he
going
took
on.
it to levels that.
Yeah, unhealthy levels.
He was, so
dysfunctional levels. Well, I don't want to get into the life and times of Jerry. That could be hours and hours and hours. And I know you grew up tight with him, but so let's transition.
I'm going to fast forward.
Let's fast forward into NWA, when he signed them. What was happening in your life? Because this is now mid '80s. That first record was released in '87, I believe.
Yeah, but there's some other things, but I think they did that NWA in the Posse.
In the Posse.
Yeah, I forget when that was. That was like Boys in the Hood, and then I'm
pretty sure that was released in '87. Yeah,
I don't think so.
I remember hearing.
I think it was before.
I remember hearing the mixtape of 8 Ball. I was in 10th grade, so this must have been 88 or 87, in the back of the bus going to football practice or football game.
I don't remember.
Some kid played it and got it at a swap meet, and it was unbelievable. I never heard anything like it, and I was really into hip hop already. But tell me how things changed for you when that happened.
I just remember Jerry coming to me, and I lived with him for most of my childhood. I had a room with him, so I was always with him, and I just remember him coming to me, and this is during the times he was definitely on a low and reinventing himself. Started having some momentum with some of those hip hop acts we mentioned, and I remember him coming to me and saying, "I met this guy who's this tall, that's going to change my life, your life, and the world." I'm getting chills right now.
And he was right.
So I want to say 2 days later, I met Easy for the first time.
Yeah.
And, they formed a bond and a relationship and a partnership that was unparalleled. I mean, it was amazing. So I was around that guy. I was around Easy a lot. He lived 2 doors down from us at one point.
And you were what, teenager? How old are you at this time?
14, 15.
Yeah, so you're very influential years coming up, and now boom, Easy.
Listen, Dre used to call me because they all lived out in Oak Park or Westlake. They all moved out there when they started making money. And that was kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
Forget before the Kardashians and Hidden Hills. We're talking about like
is this Chatsworth? Where was that?
No, Westlake Village.
Westlake. That was in Chatsworth.
Oh, Dre did move to Chatsworth at some point. But this is before. This is way before. The DOC lived on 477 Savona. I lived on Pizarro. I still talk to the DOC today. But Dre would call me and say, "Come over. I just finished a record. I want you to hear it." And I used to trip out thinking like, why does he want me to hear all these records? It was a regular thing. I'd either walk or ride my bike to his house. Sometimes he'd pick me up.
Yeah.
I literally lived it was like a 12-minute walk, a 3-minute car ride, 2-minute car ride. And, I realized at some point, I don't remember when, I'm his audience.
Yeah, he's doing market research on you.
And I would say to him, "Oh, I fucking hate this, Dre. This is corny."
Yeah.
And I was it was just like I was a young kid and I was completely unfiltered,
giving him the real truth of how you felt.
I mean, I remember when he played me
studying what you thought and what you said.
Everything that the world heard, I heard first, which was cool, right? The DOC record, incredible. I was in the studio all the time with those guys. And there was a real trust factor. Easy and I were closer. But no, I remember him playing the whole Above the Law album first.
Yeah.
I was in their music video. I was in one of the cellmates. I don't know if I've even ever seen it, but I think I made the cut. But I was around for all that. But I think the takeaway that let's transition into why we're here is that the biggest thing, my biggest lesson out of being around these guys, and I'm talking about, I would say, I would put Easy up there with one of the greatest minds I've ever met.
Okay.
Is that there was this ability and this sort of energy that I could do anything. So Easy came in and did this record label with no experience.
Right.
With a few dollars and created, one of the most legendary labels of all time.
Yeah.
And anything Easy wanted to do, he did. He was buying real estate. I mean, he was really... he had no fear and this concept that I've never done it before. How do I do it? It was first, we're going to do this. We'll figure out how we get there.
Got it. So he had the confidence and the know-how to just go after it.
I don't know if he had the know-how, but he had the balls and the courage to say, we're going to do this. Yeah. And I remember I was working on, I signed, let me back up. So I met will.i.am at a local hip-hop club, signed him to a management agreement, and then ultimately signed him, Apple, and a guy named Mookie to Ruthless Records.
Okay.
Fortunately for them, they never came out. I was their first manager. But what I learned from Easy and Dre, and I kind of developed early on that if I want to do something, I'm going to do it. And that's always pushed me in my career, whether it was becoming a director and never going to film school, whether it was getting into real estate and having no background and no like family in the business, or ultimately opening up Plan Check. Yeah. I just had this idea that if I want to do it, I'm going to figure it out. So I think a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs are always looking for that moment in time or that green light or something to say, look, this is how you're going to, there's no right way.
There's no right way, right time. There's just go do it and figure it out.
I've never been afraid. And I think that that was my biggest takeaway. I remember going to meetings with guys like Tommy Mottola. Yeah. Major music guys with Easy. Right. And he'd sit in that room and he would control the meeting. And he was just this confidence and this idea that he was in the know, which he was. It was special. So I always took away that swag and that courage, and that doesn't mean I've never not been afraid. I've scared shitless sometimes doing deals, but the idea that to gain, you have to gain big, you have to risk big. Yeah. So was my biggest takeaway.
That's a good lesson to learn, and I know that holds a lot of people back, where it's waiting for the right time, the right perfect moment, the connection, the finance, and really, if you're an entrepreneur, you just got to go make your way.
There's never a right time.
Learn on the job.
There's never a right time.
So that changed the world, changed pop culture, changed hip hop, also changed culture in general. Obviously, the whole gangster rap thing has influenced every part of our culture now, and it's just so fascinating that you grew up in that at that moment and that specific group and those specific people, Eric Wright and DOC and Dr. Dre and all these guys that are, legendary
I was
producers,
there the
writers.
First time Suge came to our office,
Knight,
so all those stories that people talk about, they're not stories to me. That's another thing I tell people when they try to talk to me about that era. I didn't hear these things. I was there. Yeah. So when Suge came in for the first time, or when I was in the studio and they were making the second album or 100 Miles a Run, whatever, I was in the studio. Right. I saw the process. Yeah. I know.
When they were hanging out at Monty's in Westwood?
We would hang out at Monty's in Woodland Hills.
They were hanging out in Westwood all the time because Interscope was right there in Wilshire.
Yeah, but remember, there was no Interscope when we first started.
Yeah, when you first started. But once Death Row took off. Yeah. Yeah.
So all the stories and the Suge stuff and all that, they weren't stories to me. Yeah. Firsthand, like I was there. The first time the guy came in the office, he didn't intimidate any of us. So no, all those stories of like him beating up, all that stuff never happened. Trust me when I tell you. Yeah. 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 Hey,
I wasn't there. I have no idea. I had no idea. I used to see them when I was interning, walking through offices and this and that. Everyone was always pretty cordial and gentlemanly and articulate. And so who knows? Stories versus reality, God only knows. But so let's now talk about getting you into. You got into video production and directing films.
So I was the A&R guy for a couple years at Ruthless. Really wanted to do my own thing. There was all that stuff happening with Suge and artists leaving, and I think Easy really lost his way for some time until Bone came along. So what happened was Bone, their manager, started calling Ruthless all the time, or the guy that was sort of trying to promote them. He was a local guy in Cleveland. Okay. I spoke to him. I was trying to connect them with Easy. Somehow Easy did connect with them. They came to LA. That's a crazy story for another time. And ultimately,
how did Easy sign them? I would think everyone would want to sign.
They weren't on anybody's radar.
No one knew who they were yet.
And keep in mind, they were from Cleveland. It wasn't so easy for people to have access. There was no Instagram and digital. You know what I mean? So they put out a little EP. I think it was called Faces of Death, if my memory serves me right. They had some like street dude that was working for them. I struck up a friendship with the guy. Ultimately, they did connect with Easy. Easy signed them. And I was very involved with the process, whether it was like, helping with the album or whatever the stuff, the creative process. Nobody really believed in them. I will tell you this. Their harmonies were incredible, but this was a time that there was a lot of doubt within the Ruthless halls of who Easy was signing, the credibility of the artist, the legit. Right. I wouldn't say credibility or legitimacy, but just, are we signing quality people? So they came along, and I don't think there was super high hopes for them.
And they were incredibly unique and dynamic. Their style was really different. It's real easy to
Monday morning quarterback, but you could also look at uniqueness as corny or whack or who are these guys? Or
sure,
I can't fucking understand what they're saying because they're like machine gun rap.
Yeah.
So, and look, they evolved. So what we were hearing to what became on their EP, to what became their first album, to what became Crossroads, it's just an evolution. So, everybody likes the Monday morning quarterback and say, oh, should have, would have, could have, or, oh, I would have signed them, but it's not that simple. So because there was this sort of uncertainty in the Ruthless halls and all this stuff that was going on, I saw an opportunity, and I met these directors that were just graduating from USC that actually Will discovered, and they did a video for him called Puddles of H2O. Check it out. I think it's somewhere on YouTube.
Puddles of H2O.
I put up the money. I think it was $1,000, and Will was just trying to. Will was always super. Will.i.am was always super. He never settled for just waiting around for stuff to happen. He always made it happen. Hustling nonstop. Everything.
Work ethic and
everything. The hardest working guy I've ever met.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
So he said, "Hey, I met these guys. Can we somehow we figured out the money." These guys did a video called Puddles of H2O.
And they were just out of film school, you're saying?
Yeah, just out of film school. One was the cinematographer, one was the director.
Yep.
And the video came out really cool. And being me and being at the time, this is like, I'm 22, trying to figure out ways to make more money. The most I ever made at Ruthless Records, I started making $100 a week. I still have the paycheck stubs. This is not 1946.
Yeah,
I couldn't pay for shit.
I get it. I was making $5 an hour too with a degree from USC.
$5 an hour.
Yeah.
$100 times $90 a week is how much? Yeah, $6. Yeah, some bullshit. So
yeah, it's slave wages.
Not. It's like a.
Wait, you were making $100 a week?
A week.
$20 a day?
A week.
So you're making $2 an hour?
No, because they're like, oh, it's Jerry's nephew. Fuck him. We're going to like, everybody thought like I had it made. I couldn't afford. I was going to Pepperdine at one point.
Pakistan, or you're making $2 an hour, $1 an hour?
I don't know, man. It was bullshit. I was on some child labor.
You were the head of A&R?
I might still sue. I wasn't head of anything at this point.
Yeah.
I was ahead of nothing.
But you had a job. You were in the game.
Correct, and that's all I ever wanted.
Access.
Eric used to show up. Easy used to show up at 6 a.m, and he'd either show up or still be there with some girls from the night before, and he'd go, "What are you doing here? It's 6 a.m." And he would all the time I was there. I didn't give a shit, man. I just wanted an opportunity.
Soaking it up, learning, doing everything.
So I graduated from $100 a week to $450 a week after a couple of years. Now I'm rolling deep. Rolling. I'm now going from Taco Bell to like Baja Fresh. I'm feeling good about myself.
Oh, yeah.
So so with the Bone Thugs thing and this video, I don't know why my nose is itching so bad today.
Need a tissue?
No, I don't have boogies. I just have an itchy nose. Maybe if your nose itches, does that mean you're lying?
A lot of allergies.
I have no allergies. It's just itchy.
Apparently you do.
I don't. Itchy nose might be something else. And I don't do drugs. So never have, by the way. Never even smoked pot.
Really?
Ever.
Maybe you need to start, loosen you up, calm you down.
I did a few edibles recently.
Probably freak you out.
No, I did little mints. Yeah, it would freak me out.
Yeah, you don't want to lose control.
No,
not for you. It's not for everybody. I was never
interested in it. I do drink. Not a lot, but I like to drink. So doing this little Puddles of H2O video, I met these guys. I go to Easy and I said, listen, I showed him the video. He's like, wow, this is incredible. We wanted to shoot a promo. It was my idea to do this little promo with Bone Thugs around an oil can on fire. And we did it at Easy's house, his first house he bought in Norwalk. They had this little thing
close
that they
to Compton.
did. What's that?
That's pretty close to Compton.
I don't know what the thought process. My parents sold him the house actually.
Big commission.
And they did this thing like East 99 is where you'll find me slinging my yeah yo, and they did this whole harmony. And we did it, and then we put it on the box. and
The Box.
yeah, and that's how we
Music
started
videos
promoting
on The Box.
Yeah, that's how we started
Which
promoting
always
them.
was playing hip hop.
That's all they were playing. I
'Cause
think
MTV
maybe
really wasn't.
R&B.
It was very urban. It was all urban music.
I don't know. So I mean, I don't know that. Yes, I don't know what. Yes, it was completely committed to urban. So after
Couldn't you used to be able, couldn't you request on The Box? Were you able to call
something,
in and
something? But I think there was some funny business on how things worked there.
Yeah,
So
I'm sure.
So easy. I did that. He loved it. I think it was a $5,000 budget. Then I went to him. I said, "Listen, I want to direct their first music video. What's the budget?" Because he was showing me some reels of other directors. I thought they were corny.
Yeah.
And once again, I never directed nothing.
Right, but you had the confidence to say, I can do this.
I don't know if I had the confidence, but I faked it. So I went to him and said, "What's the music video budget?" And I think he said $100,000, which is okay. Now it sounds expensive, but at the time, like it was a decent budget. I said I could do it for 50. He goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "I'll do it for 50." He goes, "Done." So shook hands. I fly to Cleveland. I do their first music video, Thuggish Ruggish Bone.
Are you doing it with these guys? From
One guy, the cinematographer.
Right, so he's sort of the technician because you've never shot a film.
What do I know?
Yeah.
But if you look at the video, it was one of the biggest hits of the year. I mean, not because of the video, because it was a
great song.
And from there, I get a call from Leor Cohen at Def Jam, who said, people,
another legend in the business,
and still a legend.
Yeah,
with this crazy Israeli weird accent from New York, Israeli, like
exactly.
I don't know how
he was involved with the Beastie Boys early on.
Early
on.
Def Jam stuff.
One of the new Russell.
He was like a promoter, and then
talking about early hip hop. Those guys were truly the first group of taking it to that level. So and they were young. They were like your age. They were probably 18, 19, 20, 21 when they started.
But all those guys are much older than us. But
yes.
But Leor's like, "Come to New York. We have work for you. This is so dope." This whole thing. I'm like, wow. I go to the Def Jam offices. I see Russell. I see Leor. I meet Julie Greenwald. I see, I forget, walking through the hallways, Redman, whoever.
All these legends in the business.
And they gave me this video, and I did the video. And actually,
what was the next one?
Well, I did 2 for Bone. I'm trying to remember. I think the next video was, I did this thing, BG Knockout and Dresta, who was signed to a West Coast guy through Def Jam. And it was like a diss record. It ended up being like Easy's boy. I forget, dude.
Anyway, so from that point on, you're in the game.
I did a ton of work for them ultimately. You're doing very well. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. Still need to sell you a deal before we die, but we will. So knock on wood. So tell me now, what the interesting part about you from an outsider's point of view is everything you've done has been extremely, I'd say very creative and brand oriented, from whether it was from hip hop or then when you got into real estate. You clearly have your finger on the pulse. Some of the remodels that I've seen you do and some of the reposition projects, they all have a very distinct, stylish brand to it. It's not cookie cutter. And we'll get into your restaurant
I gotta
career.
take my jacket off.
Take your jacket off. Take your coat off. But you did the same thing when you pivoted into Plan Check. The branding was incredible. So talk to me a little bit about your design aesthetic, your branding, and what you think about real estate and how that relates to your real estate. Like, it seems like everything you get involved with has to be something that has a good style and look to it. I don't, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like when you're investing in stuff, there's some really cool design elements that you put into these projects.
Well, thank you, I guess, for the compliment. But I definitely think I kind of honed those skills through osmosis early on. Remember, there was a time that there wasn't a term called street marketing, and so we had to be really creative.
Yeah.
In the early Ruthless days, you couldn't play if a song like "Fuck the Police." So how do you get
that on the radio?
How do you get that on the radio? How do you get that on video? And if you do edit it, so there was always this discussion of sort of things going viral. The term viral and street marketing did not exist.
Guerrilla marketing.
And maybe that term existed, and then obviously Steve Rifkin changed the game.
Loud Records.
With Loud, but his whole Steven Rifkin company doing street marketing.
We're gonna have Josh in here too. Josh Levine is coming soon.
Sounds really boring. I love Josh. He's a good friend of mine.
I'll let him know how boring you think it's gonna be.
Can you get some big people so you get some?
You're it.
I'm the biggest guy. You're fucked.
I'm fucked. I'm fucked. I'm in a sinking ship here, but no, we're good.
So, damn, it's getting late. So real quick on the whole tastemaker thing. Look, I don't. Anybody that says they're a tastemaker or has their finger on the pulse, I just do what I do, and definitely, I'm a very curious person. So whether it's been food or music or art or design, it's something that I've always just loved. Very early on.
Passionate about it.
I wanted to be an architect
Yeah.
at 13. Ultimately didn't do that, but always was interested. And I remember going on my scooter, like my moped type scooter, when I was like 13, 14, to going to open houses because I really loved architecture and I loved design. And I was trying to.
Bug.
What's that?
You had the bug.
Not just that. I wanted, like, we lived in a very sort of middle class, like tracky, and there was like some really nice homes like over like there. And I just wanted to live over there. And so I would go there and just kind of aspire to like, how do I end up here? So regarding every business that I've ever done, like if you look at my business card, shoot, I don't have one on me, or you look at my logos, like it's very important to me.
Clearly. I mean,
so if you look
shows.
at my like business card I just did, like there's always
something interesting on it.
I just come from a place of authenticity and something that's important to me. So I had so when I sort of revamped Heller Holdings a few months ago, that was my real estate company. And that went away when I opened up my restaurants, Plan Check, and I did that for about 6.5 years and exited out.
You just exited, right?
Yeah.
And that was a hugely successful project.
Hugely successful, but what is successful on the surface to people looking in is a little...
of course.
Restaurants are very tough.
No, for
everything
sure.
you've ever heard of them is true.
Yeah, it's a grinder business, tough.
Every business is tough. So let's just preface that. Every business is tough. I'm glad I did it. I think I changed. I can't tell you how many times people said to me, I went on my first date. I was proposed there. Yeah. I had the best burger or chicken sandwich ever. I love all ketchup leather is so rad. How'd you come up with that? So all that stuff is really cool to me. And it really is helping me today with my real estate. I'm working on a hotel deal in Highland Park right now. So that's applicable, right? Having the hospitality experience.
For sure.
But when it comes to what you're saying about the lifestyle or the design or that focus.
Plan Check, when I first saw it, before it was even opened, I think, when you first showed it to me, from the furniture to the paper that you had on the tables, it felt like what it was supposed to be, being a few doors down from the on Sawtelle, from building and planning, and all these building tools that were integrated. There was just, you might make a call. There was a lot of really fascinating, interesting design elements. It felt very authentic, and it felt, without even understanding what I was doing or experience, it was like, oh yeah, this feels right. This feels like this is like an experience. It's sure good food and gourmet, but it was the experience of being there was phenomenal, and that's very hard to pull off.
Well, look, I always come from a place of, like, I like to tell stories, okay? And I didn't know that about myself, but I like to tell stories. So whether it was when I was a director or when I was opening up Plan Check or even what I'm doing today, I think that telling a story and coming from a very authentic place is important, especially if you want to connect with people. So whether I was doing condo projects in Long Beach or whether I was doing apartment deals in Koreatown, there was something that I wanted to identify with on the project. I'm not a commodities guy. Yeah. Like I really
That's a good way to put it.
So I would look at a building and go, okay, what is there that I could draw some inspiration, right? So at Plan Check, I wanted to do a neighborhood establishment. I was a real estate guy. Yeah. I would stand in this like bodega, if you will, and watch all these people with stacks of plans in their hand.
Getting their permits.
And I could have named it anything, but I named it Plan Check because it's an acronym for getting your plans approved.
So you truly got the inspiration from being there before. So it wasn't Plan Check until you were there and experienced and the Department of Building and Safety and all that stuff going on there.
People ask me all the time, oh, did you have a big business plan? No. I signed a lease contingent on me being able to get a liquor license. Yeah. The landlord, who's a friend of mine, told me you'll never get you'll never get a liquor license here, but if you're willing to put up half the money, I'll put up half, and I got it in 3.5 months. So I think being an outsider, stepping into these different industries, it's not that I'm doing anything like brilliant. I just do it the way I know how. And because I don't have any preconceived sort of idea of how to do things, I think I'm coming in with a fresh approach.
For sure. That
but
makes sense.
through the years, I've learned to get in touch with this thing that happens in here, your soul, your heart, whatever you want to call it.
Your essence, whatever your flavor is.
I feel things. Listen, Dre, that's something Dre used to always say, like, you know, he was all about feel, man. You'd be in the studio, it was about a feel.
Yeah.
You know, you could rationalize, you could break down a chorus, you could break down an artist, but either you feel it or don't. I Am, the minute I saw that guy freestyle, I knew he was something special.
Yeah.
He didn't have any hit song. He looked goofy as hell. He didn't fit in at the time to what was going on in music, but I knew this guy had something. Why? It wasn't anything rational. It was a feel.
So you're just going with your gut.
So Plan Check was a feel.
Yeah. And it sounds like your projects in real estate, when you're designing it, you put your imprint, what you feel for the space.
Listen, don't get me wrong. When I'm buying a real estate deal, there's economics involved.
Of course,
there's analysis.
Well, there has to be, or you go belly
I'm not
up.
flippantly buying things.
No,
I'm very cheap. Brokers know when they bring me a deal, it needs to be a deal.
Yeah, I know. I've brought you a lot of deals.
Right. How many have I bought?
None.
Because they're not deals for me.
Yeah.
But when you bring me a deal, I'll buy it and I'll get it done.
Yeah.
Not saying you don't have them, but
no, they're tough. They're tough to come by in this market. But so that's, of course, there's economics involved, but beyond
I don't know if you could teach this feel thing. I don't know. I just, everything I do, I put my heart and soul into it, and I really toil over the details.
Yeah.
Even my stupid business card I just did, somebody was helping me with it, and they're like, "You're fucking insane. Make this like, I wish I had the card so I could show you guys. It's like, it's actually in my car. Do I have one here?
We're not going to walk down to the parking lot, but
why not? No, I don't have it. Make this, you know, the card stuff. I mean, I really, really, really care.
Yeah.
And I don't do it because I care
detailed.
what other people think. I'm in a hat and a t-shirt and jeans. I don't give a shit about my appearance, but I care about these things.
Yeah.
And I think when you really care and you have that passion, that translates to a renter, to somebody buying, to somebody that wants to, you know, I'm doing a deal right now in Silver Lake that's office over retail.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody's going to come there, and when they look at the project, when it's ultimately done, they're going to see a project that someone gives a shit and they care. And the trees that we plant and the way.
Can't wait to see the finished product.
Me too. Hopefully I can get the deal done. You know, nothing is easy. But there's one guy in this town that I think is incredible. I'm saying on the real estate front, because he cares about every single square inch of his properties. And that's Rick Caruso.
Yeah. Guy's brilliant. And
unbelievable
guy.
Rick came from money. No, there's a lot of guys.
There's a lot of rich guys that haven't done anything.
This guy cares, and
his projects are incredible. It's revolutionary for our city. He's changed our city.
Changed our city. And one of his right-hand guys is a friend of mine, and his first project at Havenhurst Ventura, I heard the stories of what he did to get the project approved and to ultimately create a successful project, to pull it, to do community outreach.
Yeah.
So that passion.
By the way, I heard the new Palisades Village is the #1 grossing mall in the country. The new village.
Well, how do you qualify that? You mean sales per foot?
I've heard that.
What does that mean?
Price per square foot, I believe.
Sales per foot.
Yeah, I think it's, how does it retail? It's usually sales per foot.
I have no idea. That doesn't sound accurate to me, but maybe it is. But it's absolutely stunning.
Yeah, it's a game changer for sure.
But this guy, who's a multi-billionaire, everything he does has a level of quality. And
have you seen his Christmas lights every year? They're unbelievable.
I've seen it all, and I have nothing but bless you. I have nothing but admiration and respect for a guy
for sure
that continues. I can't wait till Santa Barbara project is done. It's almost done, and that's where I get inspiration. When I went to the Palisades project, you know, I went like 3 weeks after they opened. I'm like this.
Just looking at everything. Yeah, it was a wow factor for me too. For me too.
Here's a guy that's so, you would think, removed from
being in touch and what people want. And he's clearly so dialed in and fits so well and feels so authentic to the Palisades.
It blew me away.
Just like the Grove did the same thing.
I mean, there's people that might think, oh, this store. That I just think what he did in that experience and his tenacity to get it done, like his tenacity to get the hotel done in Santa Barbara. Many failed years. Is a testimony to. So that's another thing. So we covered this feel and this authenticity thing. Something that's very important to me is perseverance and not quitting.
Well, speak to that. What does that mean to you? Obviously, you've needed that in all your your careers.
Nothing has
and all
come
your
easy for me. So when I was opening up Plan Check, the real estate market collapsed, as you know it.
Yep.
I have 3 children. And I'm scared shitless about how I'm going to make a future.
I remember talking to you about it before you opened it up.
At this point, I'm in my 30s.
Yeah.
And I have these little kids that I got to take care of. And they're in
A
private
lot of overhead,
school.
a lot of pressure.
And, I sat, Danny, my landlord, gave me a little space. It was a garage. And I sat in there.
I remember meeting with you before you opened it.
I sat in there for 14 months.
I know.
Not sure what was going to happen.
Right. It was a big risk.
I put all my eggs into that Plan Check basket. And so this perseverance, the thing of not quitting, I think people, and I don't know if it's the Instagram era or the social media era, but people want really quick results.
Sure. Instant gratification,
and
instant
you just need
success.
to understand that you're going to get so many fucking no's. Yeah. I'm dealing with it right now. I'm trying to get projects off the ground. I'm trying to raise millions and millions and millions of dollars. And at the end of the day, a lot of people are going to say no.
Every day I'm getting rejected. Every day, no matter what level you're at.
Just takes one.
For sure. But you can't
know how many
expect success to be quick. I think this is good advice for up and coming.
You know how many people said
entrepreneurs.
No? I'm going to tell you something. You know how many people said no to NWA? I was there. That's why they went to Priority Records. And
they had no option, probably.
No options.
I was the only one that said yes.
People would hang up the phone. Jerry, I will never forget, called guys like Joe Smith at Capitol. You said he worked at Capitol?
Yep.
Yeah, he ran it. Clive Davis, Tommy Mottola, Jerry Greenberg.
Yeah, all the heads
David
of every
Geffen,
big label.
Irving Azoff. Jerry, are you doing drugs again? What the fuck? What are they called?
Yeah.
NWA's what?
Yeah. They're like, are you nuts? Don't even show up at my office with this.
Chris Blackwell came and watched them perform at their studio. And they didn't sign him. Yes. That was
someone I would think would be open to it because he was someone that was way
his
ahead of the curve.
I think her name was Kim Bowie, if my name serves me right, was brilliant.
He signed Bob Marley when no one would look at him.
But
what did he say about NWA? He didn't sign him.
They didn't sign him.
Yeah.
So ultimately, Jerry had probably every single major label and affiliate label say no.
Yeah, not just no, but hard pass. You're nuts for bringing this up.
You're fucking nuts. Yeah. Get off your drugs and go back to rock and roll.
Yeah.
But he found this guy a priority and he put it out.
And he
changed the world.
Yeah.
So what people need to credit Jerry for is not only was he really believed in what they were doing, not just in the music, but in the message.
Yeah.
He would see firsthand when police would fuck with these guys.
Yeah.
So Jerry is as much as a civil rights advocate.
For sure.
And people don't realize that. So
that gets lost in translation.
I don't know if it gets lost in translation or, Jerry is the most dissed person in the history of rap music, and he never held a microphone. So I don't know. I think he was proud of that. I was, when No Vaseline came out, I was like at the clubs going.
Yeah, of course you're upset.
But at the end of the day, this thing of like, it's just easy. I don't care if you're selling real estate, if you're trying to make videos, if you're, produce microphones for a living.
Whatever it is. Everything's competitive. Everything's full of rejection.
Especially in this market.
It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of energy.
Thick skin, but conviction in what you're doing. I can't tell you how many people told me that if I don't do Asian food on Sawtell, that I was going to fail.
I could see that.
Major restaurant guys. I can't tell you how many people told me I would never get liquor there because there's 2 schools across the street. I can't tell you how many people said, plan what? There's a strip club called Plan B around the corner. Are you fucking crazy? So I didn't care. I didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Because I was going to do it. I was convinced. And from the minute we opened, it was crazy successful.
Yeah.
Now, the subsequent stores were harder.
How many locations did you end up?
Ultimately, we had 4.
4?
They closed one recently off my watch.
You had the original on Sawtell, then Fairfax open,
and downtown, then Santa Monica.
Santa Monica, okay. Yeah, that's pretty impressive for that concept to go to 4 locations in this concentrated place. But that's a good lesson. I mean, I always ask people, and I'd love to ask you, what is your advice for young up-and-coming business people and entrepreneurs? I'm sure a lot of it has to be around having persistence and perseverance and realizing you're going to get kicked in the teeth and get a lot of no's.
Listen, I've had a lot of career shifting gears, and it's been good, and there's been some negatives to it, right? I really believe that to really achieve a certain level of success, you got to stick to something. So I've kind of bounced a little bit. But my advice to young people is, number one, if you don't have it figured out, it's fine. It's fine. If you're 25, you've got a lot of fucking years to live. You're going to be 45 someday. So make the right decisions. Invest in yourself. Find something that you love. Find something that moves you. Me getting up in the morning, I've never set my alarm. I'm up at 5:30.
Ooh, that's early. Stockbroker hours.
I get up and I'm excited to live, and I'm excited to go do shit.
That's amazing.
So do something that you love.
It sure makes it easier to work 24/7 when you love something.
And it doesn't mean you have to be an entrepreneur. That's another thing.
No, that's a misconception too.
You need to understand what you're capable of. There's nothing wrong with being the number 2 guy or girl.
No,
there's
you're right.
nothing wrong with being a fireman. I have a buddy that's a fireman.
My brother's a firefighter.
Good. I have a buddy that's a fireman. That's all we ever want to do since we were kids.
Yeah, you got to do what's right for you.
He's the happiest guy in the planet.
And that's what it comes down to. What makes you happy? What makes you fulfilled?
Well,
and not everyone can be.
You said 2 different words that are quite different. We can't live happy every day. It's just not realistic. To live happy every day is not a realistic thing. But we could live for fulfillment. So do something that fulfills you. You're going to have those moments of happiness. You're going to have those moments of sadness. I went through the last couple of years for me was the hardest time personally for me.
Yeah.
Between a divorce, between a failed relationship with a girlfriend, between issues with my children through the divorce, between
real life stuff.
So at the end of the day, do something that's fulfilling. So I really encourage young people to find that thing. You could talk to a lot of people, you can ask people, but you need to find it within.
I agree.
I don't care what it is. You could be really successful at life, not just money, but successful doing anything, selling books, whatever it is. So just find that thing that you're interested in, number one. Number two, once you find that thing, you need to be focused like a bullet in flight, meaning that's all you live, eat, and breathe. So I don't have work hours. My work never stops. And I live a balanced life. I used to take my kids all the time when they were younger to go look at deals. Hey, we got to jump in the car and I'll make a day out of it.
Yeah.
It's just, there's no...
They come with you, you're working, they're with you, you're together.
So for me, I'm not saying that's for everybody, that this concept of I'm going to work 50, 60, 70 hours a week or whatever, and I'm going to cap it at that. I've never even had that concept. Hence, when I'm 18 years old and Easy's saying, why are you here at 6 and leaving at midnight every night? Because I didn't do it for him.
There's no clock. You're not punching a clock.
So one of the issues I have, and I had almost 300 employees at Plan Check, and I've had obviously employees in the past, is this notion of younger people. I understand they want experience. They want to live a life of, that's great. But don't tell me that and then tell me you want to be the next Elon Musk or you want to be the next Danny Brown.
Doesn't match. Your actions aren't matching your words.
So we could say whatever you want. My water polo coach, who's one of my most influential people in my life, I would say, Coach, I'm going to do this, that, and the other. And he'd say, Heller, don't tell me. Show me. Yeah, don't tell me that you want to live in a $5 million house, but weekends are off limits to work.
Right.
So just what do you want out of life?
Yeah.
And you want to make $125,000 a year? That's your goal? Do it. But don't then tell me you want a Panamera or you want to fly private or whatever the hell is important to you.
Right.
Because it's just a bunch of bullshit.
And, your actions have to.
So young people today, I actually think it's a great time to be young because I actually think all the information's here. So if you really want to get
can you imagine if we had this 25 years ago? But
we had other things.
Right.
So
sure.
It's all there. So
it's the great equalizer if you put their time into it.
But I think that people don't want to put their time
into it.
No,
they want to use it to cheat, and that's not authentic, and that doesn't work. I don't know if it's
cheating. I'm just saying.
Well, shortcut. They want the shortcut.
I don't know. I just think that it's all there, and you can figure things out. And what I like about the environment, like I have a 17-year-old son, what I like about this environment is I do think there's not a lot of hard workers right now. And if you are a hard worker, you're going to stand out.
Sure.
I meet with people call me all the time. They want to intern. They want to do this, that. They don't show up. It's
amazing.
I'm not one of these older guys saying like how times are different. I actually think times are great. And if you're
They are
18, 20, 25, 30, like actually think
there's so much opportunity.
There's so much opportunity.
If you work hard and focus, there's so much opportunity.
I actually think the competition is not that good.
Yeah, I also think the playing field is leveled for younger people like never before. You don't have to have 10 or 20 years of experience before someone takes you seriously. There's plenty of people in their 20s doing big things and putting their work in and having huge success. And that's something that's new to this generation or newer. So it's a level playing field. If you want to put the work in and learn it, it takes time and you got to do it. But if you're willing to do it and willing to work your ass off, that's how you pull it off. But don't be frustrated if you're not willing to work for it.
Be authentic to yourself, that perseverance thing. And then one thing I want to mention is I learned this when I was a director. Excuse me. I surrounded myself with people that were better than me. I'm not ashamed to say that.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about cinematography. I learned it on the job. I didn't know anything about blocking. So got the best AD. I didn't know anything about editing. So I would seek
the best.
I would try to find, this guy doesn't do music videos. Let me talk to him.
Yeah.
This guy his rate is 8,000 a day. Let me talk to him. And I would call these guys. I wouldn't rely on a producer. I would call them and say, listen, I'm gonna get you back. Just hook me up, do this. And I would try to I would level up. So whatever you're doing, surround yourself with the best.
Yeah,
if you want to be a broker and sell commercial real estate or sell apartment buildings, don't go work for a schmuck. Yeah. Go work for the best guy or girl.
Agreed.
And do not settle. So go around this town and only work for the best person.
Yeah.
I think internships are underutilized. I think that, you go to someone, I know the laws have changed. I don't know all the laws, but you say, hey, I want to work for free for you. And I'm going to work 20 hours for free for you while I bartend at night. A lot of people are going to respect that. So, surround yourself with level up.
Yeah.
Level up. I've always, even in my real estate.
That's great advice.
I always try to find people. I don't care. It's not.
Yeah, you don't want to be the smartest man in the room. You want to be around. It's not even to be the
smartest man or the dumbest man. Danny, it's about getting the job done and finding the best solutions and giving yourself the best opportunity. So if I'm going to work with an architect or a contractor or a engineer or a broker, whatever it is, I don't have any problem if they know a lot more than me. Good. I will absorb I'm constantly curious.
Always be learning, always be growing, always be improving.
And let's end it on that.
Yeah.
You got to be inquisitive and interested.
Love it.
And what's interesting, I look at this, we're in Beverly Hills. I know a lot of big legacy real estate guys here. They live in their 80s and 90s and they still buy deals. And I think they live long lives, not because they have this wealth that they could take, because they're using this.
Their mind, keeping it stimulated.
They're stimulated every day. They're looking for the deal.
Yeah.
There's always another deal. It's not greed. It's what they do.
Yeah.
So I think you got to always be curious. Guys like Brian Grazer, their success has come from this ability to be interested. I actually met him once. Hold on, let me back up. When Plan Check first opened, we didn't take reservations. So we get calls from his office. Hey, it's an hour wait. Will you hold the table? And I said, absolutely, because I love that guy.
Yeah.
So one day I'm in the bathroom at Nobu in Malibu. And I said, oh, hey, Brian, my name's Terry Heller. I literally just took a piss and was washing my hands next to him. And, he's got the crazy hair.
Yeah, the spiked hair.
And I said, listen, I own Plan Check, and I really appreciate you coming. It's so
nice.
Cool. And he looks at me, he goes, oh, my God, I've got like 25 questions for you. Let's walk outside. So we're standing in the bathroom. We walk outside. How did I come up with the name? How did I come up with this? And ask questions. Yeah. And he was really sincere.
Yeah. He's absorbing and learning from you.
I don't know what he was doing, but
I'm sure he does that with everything.
It made my night. I'm like, this guy knows about, so. Did
you head to Soho House after your spot next door?
Yes, I did.
Of course you did. Of course you did. Well, dude, we can go on for hours with this. Each topic we've covered, we can go on hours and hours. I so appreciate you taking the time.
Listen, I'm very proud of you. Hopefully this is a huge success. Kind. If you want to find me.
Yeah, how do we find you, Terry?
My website is heller-holdings.com. My Instagram is Terry_Heller. I love talking to people about business. People reach out to me all the time on LinkedIn. I'm always lending my time. I get calls all the time. Hey, I want to get into real estate. How do I do this? Or restaurants. So I love helping people, being of service to people when I can. And that's why I'm here.
Well, hit Terry up. Thanks for listening to The Deal. I'm Danny Brown, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks, Terry.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for tuning in once again. Please subscribe to The Deal with Danny Brown and write a review. It really, really will help us get bigger guests and more awareness. You can go to iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcast. And man, thanks to my boy, Terry Heller, for coming in and sharing all those stories and getting into it with us. Really, really appreciate Terry coming by. He's a great dude. You can find Terry on Instagram at Terry_Heller. Or at heller-holdings.com. He's got a whole lot of businesses and interesting things going on, so keep your eyes on him. He's going to be doing huge things. And you can always find me at Danny Brown LA on Instagram. Thanks again for tuning in, and we have more interesting guests coming up every other Sunday night. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you soon.